This dude every week got to come off camera and make his entrance. Rob, where you at?
Hey, yo, I've been I've been working on getting this whole entire thing right. Let me just tell you, because I want to start this thing off the right way.
Okay,
Because we ain't playing no games.
that's right.
I didn't even know we were putting in so much work,
Bro,
and on our way to hitting what, like 20 plus episodes. This thing is flying, bro. So,
yo, this is episode 17. And
bro,
I think it's only been 2 or 3 episodes we haven't had a special guest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what up to the Level Up Past Corporate Trauma podcast, and
Yeah.
everybody out there. And you know what, Rob? We never really sat and talked about having a guest every week, right?
Yeah.
But we know so many great people that have a lot to contribute. And as corporate trauma has it,
Mm-hmm.
don't have a platform or somewhere they can feel safe to be themselves to say what they need to say. See what I'm saying? So, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about tonight's guest, and
Yeah.
I'm excited about a few other people that, man, we have been in contact with that we have lined up coming on the show for the next couple of weeks to end the year off really strong, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna come back in 22, with some lessons learned
Yeah.
and some new stuff to kind of add in and be indicative of the people that we represent. So you make a great point with that. It came out of
Man,
nowhere.
I hope folks are ready. This thing right here is real awesome. Being able to bring to the table all these different people from different walks of life, different ways of delivering content, different ways and how they speak, how they look in some form of fashion. So being able to bring in all these different people, if you know you got something, this is the place to be. And this is
Yep.
the beginning. This is the beginning. So cool.
Right. Like a pyramid scheme. You want to get in
Oh
now.
Lord.
Yeah. you want
Hey,
to get
you
in.
want
You want
you
to
want
get
to
in
be
at
the
the bottom.
you want to be the first when they bring it to your city. Yo, man, we got something new. Well, how
uh,
many people already in there? Well, we got about 500. Nah, nah, nah. Call me on the next city when I can
right.
be number 2 or number 3 starting
I
the
know.
team, and I'm in.
Hey man, we sound like the people we talking about.
I know.
The
I know.
perpetrators of corporate trauma, right?
Hey, man. Hey, you know how that works.
Yo,
Doesn't
Rob,
matter what you look like. Yeah.
tonight's subject, the exit interview,
Uh-huh.
right? And unless you've ever quit a job or got fired, right? You don't know what we're talking about. So this is why we're
Mm.
gonna talk about it tonight, right? And I've always said, right, there's so much information, based on my professional experience, having been in exit interviews. I've been terminated before, and I make no qualms
Mm-hmm.
about that. And I've been asked to conduct an exit interview. I've resigned.
So
You know,
even after they fire you, they want to know what you think.
yeah. It's serious organizations, man, that are serious about the work that they do. That look, they're not going to miss an opportunity um, to conduct an exit interview, right? Because
Mm.
that's key and valuable information, in my estimation. That if you're willing to sit and have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, they will be willing to conduct that if they're really serious about employee engagement,
Mm.
and the underlining issues around why people leave their jobs and attrition.
Okay.
And then when you resign, I've resigned on favorable terms, like
Mm-hmm.
really bittersweet terms. Like I love where I was at, but it was time to move on for whatever reason, and was able to have a conversation to talk about that as well. Um, and good human resources are able to decipher the root causes, the objective issues, regardless of how happy or disgruntled the individual is
Yeah.
that is in the exit interview, explaining why they're moving on, right? So the thing about it is that if and this is what I say all the time, that it's a missed opportunity if we don't allow people to have a voice, right? Because you can uncover patterns. You can, man, if three people leave in a 6 month or 90-day period and they cite the same person or the same department or the same issue, right? That's invaluable information, whether or not the organization or the department has the resources or the capability of doing anything about it, right? So what do you think? Exit interview.
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Man, how many people really be telling the truth? Like, that's really, unless you truly believe you're not turning back around. Like, I just don't know how many folks, like everybody, like a lot of people, I won't say everyone, a lot of folks who I've spoken to, and they're like, yeah, they had me in the X of you. I didn't really like them, but I didn't dislike them enough to truly tell them why. Either I gotta leave or I feel like I didn't do well. So for me, it's one of those situations where if you can't get like something genuine out of people, and I don't think people can guarantee that, but if the relationships aren't real, then you probably just getting something to check a couple of boxes. But to each his own. And I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying I hope the relationships are real enough and people care enough about the organization. So I will say that if the folks who are leaving, whether you're firing them or they're resigning, I do feel like if they care enough about the organization, to be honest, meaning that they care enough to sacrifice future opportunities with this organization or to possibly make someone feel bad, but they're doing it for the right reason because they want to see things get better, then yeah, I can see that working. But if you just got a joker who like, man, listen,
I'm out
to the moon, you know what I mean? If you got one of them, then it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. So, and for some, I don't even think they can figure that out.
But this is what I tell you. This is what I say to that, right? That a good human resource department will be able to flush through all of that, right? Because don't think about it like I used to as the individual exit interview, right?
Yeah.
Think about an organization's total exit interviews over a 12-month period, over a 24-month period, over a 3-year period. What is being said? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, good point. So, is there a trend? Is there a trend there? Good point.
Great, you know what I'm saying? And so you may not be able to get it. Rob left. You know what I'm saying? Jamal left. You may not be able to get it off of those 2 exit interviews, but 10 people in, you go and people, well, why? What is the reasoning? This happening. Why are you leaving? Well, I'm going. Because I got to offer more money. Why do you think you're being terminated? Well, I was not motivated. That might be because of the money, right? But a good HR department will be able to flush right through all of that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially if they have a 3 to 5 year overlay of what the determining factors are based on what people say. You know what I'm saying?
So having the right fit in your HR department is key. For having people who not only understand themselves, not only understand the organization, but hopefully understand the people that are working there, and understanding the importance of looking for trends and even possibly finding silver linings. Thank you, Roger.
Yes.
So,
without a doubt. Without a doubt. But, Rob, guess what?
What's that?
Don't take it from me.
Don't take it from you. Listen, you see how I'm looking at it.
As normal, we have a subject matter expert and a dynamic individual, somebody whom I've leaned on in the past, directly or indirectly through her relationships with people that I was familiar with, whether she knows it or not. See, people go into their careers, right? And when they do the right thing for a long time, it's like a ripple. You throw a rock in the pond and the ripples kind of spread out. You don't know who and what you're impacting. You're impacting people by the people that you impacted. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's how I can describe our guest tonight. And no further ado, Miss Dawn DuBose, not DuBois, not to be confused with is DuBose. Like we got to get there. We got to get that right. How you doing, Dawn?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey.
Dawn is a labor relations lead and HR professional, PHR, right? And has been in the corporate industrial complex in the field of human resources for over 25 years. And I know her well enough to say she don't even look 25 years old. She must
No.
have started, you know what I'm saying, before kindergarten. But that's an inside joke between her and I. But
Yeah.
she did phenomenal individual with crazy experience with big time organizations, and almost 10 years at Procter and Gamble HR, over almost 15 years at State Street Bank HR,
Mm.
and now at one of the top 10 hospitals in the world, Boston Medical Center, as the lead on their labor relations, as a senior employee in HR. Um, Welcome to the podcast, Dawn. Appreciate you giving us a couple minutes out of your day. I know you're busy, and I know this is a crazy time for healthcare professionals in general, but your position specifically, I know is probably spicy. So the fact that you joined us tonight, I do not take that lightly. And now I'm in your debt, right? So thank you for joining us tonight.
Very, very much so.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I was able to squeeze you in. Went from work to a meeting, and then I have a meeting after. So definitely,
Nice.
thank goodness for the support that I have, who was able to cook dinner tonight, so I didn't have to.
Yes,
Um,
Dawn's a real professional, right? A family woman, professional mom, and spouse, and all kind of stuff. So superwoman. But
yeah.
that goes without saying, right? So tell the people who may not be as familiar with you or may not believe whatever I just said for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Anything that I may have forgotten.
Yeah, I think you pretty much got it, but I've been in human resources in various roles for over 25 years. And, I've been in consumer products, financial services, healthcare, and nonprofit. So that's just a little bit about my professional life. And, outside of that, I'm on the board of Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corp. because I grew up in Grove Hall, and I love to travel and love to be with my family. So that's just a little bit about me.
That's right. You do.
Nice.
You all over the. That's one of the things me and my wife be talking about when we see you. Y'all are all over the map. Y'all don't stay. Y'all don't stay still.
Yeah, I can't, but I should sometimes. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about what you want to talk to me about this evening.
Yes. So let's get right into it. Now you've been a part of hiring people. You've been a part of people joining organizations. You've been a part of terminating people and people leaving the organization. And one of the things, people always talk about, all right, the interview process, but no one ever puts out there to give it the right attention that it deserves, the importance of the exit interview to the individual that is departing the organization or the organization itself, and the information data that it can derive from exit interviews. So in your opinion, how important is the exit interview process to major organizations or just organizations in general,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to employee engagement data?
Yeah, and it really, even if it's a large corporation or a smaller corporation, is all important, because exit interviews really help with a high cost of turnover. You know, especially now, turnover is really high. The market is great right now, and so turnover is high. People who have been in organizations for a very long time are leaving. There's like retention bonuses. There's just all these reasons. No one should say they don't have work. but it's just the high cost of turnover. Exit interviews are very important because it's part of the employee's life cycle, from the onboarding to to getting into the organization. And then when you're leaving the organization, obviously there's a reason why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some things beyond the corporation's control, but many of it is within the corporation's control. And some people don't even do exit interviews, and I just don't understand, because it really gives valuable information and really costs the company money if you don't.
That's a fact. I agree with that 100%. What do you think, Rob?
Oh, she didn't shot me down today. That's shot number one. But but it does make sense when the folks are doing it for the right reason. And for me, I feel like sometimes certain things happen because people just want to check the box. But if it's a part of the overall ecosystem of the company, right, and being able to say, hey, let's see how we can do things better.
Yes.
Compared to just hearing people say something and let them go out the door and say, oh, that person just was disgruntled. But the piece that you talked about, and then the piece that Jamal talked about, as far as seeing if there's a trend there, those are the pieces that really jump out to me. Figuring out what those trends are, seeing if there's something that says, hey, maybe this person is not just the people are leaving, but it's why they're leaving, that department is struggling. Because some managers who have a lot of turnover, they also have this one thing, and they have one good thing in common for many of them. Not good, but definitely bad for the company. They know how to put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They know how to put lipstick on a pig to make something that's ugly, meaning probably their behavior and how they operate, to look very, very nice.
Yeah, many people leave organizations not because of the organization, but because of managers. Frankly, they leave bad managers. And what exit interviews should get to, and I think you already talked about this a little bit, but what a company can improve, what they can change, and what they do good, and what they do great. But it does reduce employee turnover. I've conducted exit interviews where there was nothing I can do. People are getting $5-6 more, better benefits, right? And I've worked in a small organization and a large organization. Smaller organizations don't give out the bonuses and things like that, whereas a larger organization does. But there's times during exit interviews where I have convinced someone to stay in the organization based on their feedback, and said, so what about this? Have you thought about this? What if I could do this? What if we could give you $1 more? And I've convinced people to stay in the organization based on exit interviews.
So you're telling me so wait. So you're telling me your exit interview could also turn into a cookie. Now we're talking. Now we're
it's
talking.
A negotiation from beginning to end. It's a negotiation. And this is what I mean. A competent human resource department does exit interviews for a number of reasons. I totally get that. I don't know why, because I've never been convinced to stay nowhere.
I was saying that. Listen, when I was going, they be like, you've been causing too much trouble.
Yeah.
And most times, Brother Jamal, people who are terminated, they don't really get exit interviews. What they get is their unemployment information, your benefits information, your COBRA information. But most times we know ahead of time, if someone's being terminated, most of the time they're a problem child. They've been on a warning or what have you, or they did something really egregious that it doesn't really warrant an exit interview, because we pretty much know what they did, and whatever they're saying probably is not going to be very valuable. So it's mostly those that are voluntary resignations or going to another organization.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. So now you mentioned something earlier, which leads to the next question that we wanted to ask you is organizations that choose not to conduct exit interviews. See, I like, I need to be balanced, right? Because if you were to ask me, and I'm not an HR professional by trade or formal training, I would say these organizations, if they've been around long enough, they're big enough, and they decide not to conduct exit interviews, is to provide themselves plausible deniability for stuff that they already know. Like that's just what I would say,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't make any business sense to me whatsoever. But as the expert, what would you say? Especially if attrition is increasing and you still are not conducting exit interviews?
I would say that I've been in a larger organization that did not conduct exit interviews. I've left a larger organization and nobody asked me anything, right? And I was in HR. I think because organizations like that, they can afford the turnover, right? They can afford. They're just going to get somebody else. They're going to run like a well-oiled machine, and they're still going to make their money. And they just don't have the time because they have so many employees, right? So they don't have time. It's just turnover is just crazy. I think in the smaller organizations, I've been in a smaller organization, and they did not conduct exit interviews, and I was just like, why? We can't afford to lose people. And some of it was during the pandemic. We understood some of the reason, but we still need to understand, is this because of childcare? Is this because, is this just because you need to be at home, or you want to be at home because you want to collect the extra $600? Not that anyone's going to tell us that, but we've had people who was doing stuff to get fired just so they could be on unemployment. Rob, put your hand down.
Give me that money.
Yeah.
I see y'all in a year. Give me the extra coins.
Yeah, so I think during COVID, it was still valuable, but we knew that there were different reasons. But I've also worked in employee engagement, and I think this helped me to see how people were engaged. Were they engaged? Were they not? Were they disengaged for years? Was it something that recently happened? I was disengaged in a corporation for 3 years before I made the decision. I was hoping somebody came to me and said, listen, this is what we can do for you. I got tired of it. And so, but engagement is an important piece of exit interviews to see if people were really engaged, or if it was a manager or something that happened and made them want to leave. Because usually people aren't looking for jobs if they're happy in the organization. Looking for a job is a whole, full-time job.
Process.
So if you're engaged, even if you can go somewhere else and make $2 extra or $5 extra, if you're engaged, you're going to stay at that organization. So
I believe that. What do you think, Rob?
What's interesting? There was, was it 4 million people who didn't come to work last month? I think that's the number I heard. But it sounds like having the proper engagement with an organization, and the organization having the proper engagement with the people, maybe the pundits who are on TV will be able to properly articulate why folks are leaving their place of work, but also just not returning. Because I was saying that the other day, I'm like, there wasn't enough people, and I know this may sound crazy, but there wasn't enough people to pass away from COVID that you don't have enough people actually working. I don't know. It doesn't matter where you live. There's so many we need help signs, help wanted signs. So fast food alone, There's so many. Unless you're telling me that 600 or 700,000 people who passed away all did those jobs across the whole entire United States, and they all just did 3 shifts. I have no idea how that amount of jobs could be available. And then when you look at corporate jobs, there's so many jobs out there that I just got a feeling that all these people just not being honest about how much money they got from the government. And I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about companies. They must have so much money, and they like, you know what, we could hire more people than we ever hired before. And people are like, but you really only want to pay me 12? Want to pay me 13? Listen, start off at 17 or 18 or 20 and I'll be there. And they're like, nah, we can't pay that much. Okay, well, watch. You'll come and find me soon. So there's something there. There's something there between like the exit interview, just from listening to what you're saying, Don, and then what we're experiencing now. Because I've never seen lines this long and bad customer service in my life everywhere.
Yeah, I think COVID had a lot to do with it. People during COVID, people had to sit with themselves. They had to really assess what they want. There's so many work from home positions now. People were like, wait, my mental health is more important than this corporate trauma, right? I got used to staying home with my children, or just staying home, period. I really need to take care of me. I don't know how people do it because they still have bills to pay, but I'm still going to take care of me, but I still am going to pay my bills, you know? But
maybe they realize them kids not that bad.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know
I can do it.
I don't know. The light bill went up. The gas bill went up. I couldn't wait for them to go to school. Those teachers, the teachers wasn't lying on one of my kids. I'm not gonna. They wasn't
lying. She looked over the laptop like, let me see.
I want to see if it was the kid coming downstairs. I don't want him to hear me. But yeah, engagement is very, very important. I can't stress it enough. Like I said, you can go anywhere and make more money, but if you're not engaged and they don't have wellness programs, and Brother Jamal, you can bring me back. I can talk about more than that. I want to stay on topic, but interviews. And one other thing I want to say about exit interviews, I also conduct stay interviews. So when people are coming to the company 30, 60, 90 days, if there's an issue, I need to know in the first 3 months, the first month, the second month, the third month. That makes people feel more comfortable and more, as they're transitioning. They may not have received the training that they wanted to. Like you're saying, a good HR department knows the people. It could be a large organization. It could be a small organization. If you connect with the people, I've given people corrective actions and they walk away. It's like, you know what? I really needed that. I'll say, listen, you're late a lot. How about getting up 30 minutes earlier? Leave your house 15 minutes earlier. Get those kids ready after you get yourself ready. I guarantee you won't be late. People are like, oh yeah. I mean, I recently left the company, and someone who I gave a corrective action, and it was a tough 6 months with this individual. And she thanked me, and I was shocked. She said, thank you, because if not, I would have continued to do what I was doing. And let me know your personal information in case I need to reach out. So you have to know the people, you have to be engaged, so that when this exit interview does happen, you'll know, it's because they really want to be closer to home, or they're really going to make a lot more money. But those who you have a relationship with, you can kind of coax them back in and just say, you know what? I understand you've been working really hard. Let's try to give you a couple of more dollars if you'll stay. And I've done that with a couple of people.
See, Dawn, you put the human in human resources, right? Where a lot of organizations have turned their HR departments into defense departments for litigious behavior against the organization, even though I know that is important. But you still got people working for you. And people are going through things, so So we can get ready to land this plane because I definitely respect your time, John. Real quick, what advice would you give other HR professionals, other than what you've already said, on how to leverage the data? Like, it's one thing to get it and get into the practice of it, but how do you leverage it to help save your company money, help save people's engagement, and do the right thing for everybody?
I would say, even if the company's small, invest in software that really that can really analyze the data. If you're not analytical, you're going to get this data and then what? You're just going to put it in a file. But I would say invest in software that can really analyze over a period of time, analyze over a 3-month time, a 6-month time, a year time. I think people just don't do that, and it's cost effective when you really think about the turnover. It really is very helpful. One other thing is, if you're seeing trends, even if you don't have the software, but if people are leaving and saying, I think you should look at that supervisor or manager. I've had the difficult job of demoting someone that was a nurse manager to an individual contributor. It was tough, but based on this exit interviews, I had to interview other staff member confidentially to really see, okay, so this is matching up. Let's really, and I don't like to use the word investigation, but let's start interviewing some people and really get into the root of the problem. So I would say, use your exit interviews to kind of, if you're seeing a trend without the software, do some interviews of staff, and just to see if staff are feeling that way. Use your engagement survey to get confidential information, so that you'll see trends and you won't have as much turnover. So that's my advice.
Excellent. And last question, and then I'll turn it over to you to fill in any gaps. What advice would you give, to Robert's point, professionals that are leaving the organizations for good, bad, or indifferent, how to handle the exit interview?
Well, what I do is, when someone's exiting, I send them a nice note first, just to say, we want to you are a valued member of whatever team or this organization. We would love to learn from you. What we're doing well, any areas of opportunity. I would make them feel comfortable first. Sometimes in the exit interview, I get to the general questions like, would you recommend this company to your family or friends? If you're leaving on a good note, most people say yes. No, okay, why? But what I do is I say, this is going in your record, but let's have an off the record conversation, because that's when I'm really getting to the root of what's really going on for those who don't really want to be comfortable with this in their file. But it starts with the relationship, and it starts with people seeing HR as more consultative, as opposed to, oh, here comes HR. So that has to happen sometimes prior to the exit interview. You have to make people feel comfortable, even if you're giving them corrective action. I always ask them, are you surprised? Most times they say no. But if you are surprised, then that's more, okay, let me investigate this a little bit. So I would just say, if you're feeling like people are just giving you answers just to check off the box, just to make sure they get their last paycheck, then I would just say, if there's anything off the record, and then keep your word. It's off the record.
Yeah.
Use that information. Keep it in the back of your head. So I usually have an off the record paper that I keep in my office, as opposed to their personal file. So
beautiful. And so, with an engagement like that, I encourage people to be transparent. Because leaving an organization, good, bad, or indifferent, is not an indication of who you are as a total, as an individual. But the information in your
Mhm.
experience can be so valuable to yourself by actually verbalizing what's going on into other people if it is used in the proper perspective. But anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want to say related to this subject matter or not before we let you go? Um, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's all about just making those connections. You never know who's leaving the organization. Just make connections with people. You know, I would go to different floors and just say hi. Bring a cart with cookies or something, just to make that connection because you just don't know. And in that way, when they do come to you for an exit interview, they're feeling like, okay, I can talk with her.
Mhm.
You know, so make connections and be genuine. Be genuine.
Good
Cool.
stuff. Dawn, thank you so much. This is very, very valuable information. You didn't have to go as
Mhm.
far as you did, but I'm glad that you decided to. I know that there's individuals in the audience that are going to get a lot out of what you said,
Mhm.
especially any HR professionals that may uh, be out there watching this episode. Rob,
Yeah,
anything before we
definitely
close
reach
it?
out to me anytime. I'm here. So thanks, Rob and Brother Jamal. And until next time.
All
We'll see
right.
you soon.
Thank
And you
you.
will be coming
Thank you.
back. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, you will be coming back. Thank you so much. Please give my
Okay.
love to the fam.
Okay. I
All
will.
right.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Later.
Man, huh? I almost
Oh.
forgot that HR can operate like that.
Yeah, building that relationship um goes a long way, but also having people feel like you're there in their corner as well, and not just someone who's trying to make sure that the organization doesn't look bad, right? And just listening to her, that was something where it's like, hey, we hold a lot of hats, and I feel like what you shared also was the key piece was putting the human back in human resources, having you really taken that human approach and hopefully individualistic approach, as much as you can, really taking into consideration who these people are and what they're about. So that piece was very key.
Man, um, Rob, when I think about the total amount of employment opportunities that I've had and the
Hmm.
different reasons why I left the organization, whether it was voluntary or involuntary,
Hmm.
um, as it relates to corporate trauma, that
Yep.
last touch point from um, HR was really important for
Mm.
how I took my next employment experience on, whether I
Hmm.
conflated things, whether I decided to take advantage of the opportunity fully
Hmm.
and rebrand myself, reinvent myself. Um, and the times where I decided not to do that, I continued the pattern of corporate trauma. Um,
Mm.
and that's why you need real people in these HR departments helping people deal with their human experience. I really appreciate, all that I heard.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. That was really needed, and for those who are listening, whether you're in HR or not, um, this kind of stretches far, right? Because ultimately, how do you get better as a person, as an organization, if you don't have what at times could be those difficult conversations? Because I know I've been guilty of it a number of different times where it's like, hey, I don't want to have that conversation, and to be honest with you, I just don't really care. But sometimes we're thinking about the other people, thinking about how we're feeling at this point in time, and not thinking about our future self. Because sometimes in that HR meeting or that exit interview, that person could shine a light on something that could stop you from making a bad decision at your next place of employment.
That's a
You
fact.
know,
I
so.
remember one time I got some feedback from my manager. And he wasn't an HR professional.
Hmm.
He was like, Jamal, let me show you your numbers. He
Mm.
said,
Nah.
"Oh my God!" He said, "Let me show you." So
Yeah.
everything he showed me was like enough
Mm.
to keep my job
Okay.
for like the previous month.
Mm.
That wasn't that big of a deal, right? But he was like, "Listen, basically, all you did last month was showed up, breathed, and collected a
Hmm.
paycheck."
Yeah.
Now
Wow.
he said you can't afford to continue to do that,
Mm.
right? And see, I felt right,
Hmm.
and I didn't know it. I was too young of a professional, or I was too young in my profession. No, bro, you've been going hard in the paint for a long time, and
Hmm.
you need to take a vacation, or you need to take a break, or you need to
Yeah.
just go take a walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something. But had not he said that to me, um, right, I would not have realized where I was. And it can't, everything can't mean, yo, I'm gonna get written up or I'm gonna lose my
Hmm.
job. I hate
Right.
that. I hate people who, nah, let me not say that because I don't mean it that way. I
Hmm.
really, really strong. I form of managing people,
Correct.
right? I
I'm with
and
that.
I at a certain point you gotta, you know what I mean, you
Hmm.
gotta get serious about the feedback. But some people, the micromanaging and then the documentation piece is their default. And quite honestly, it is the lowest form of leadership that you can adopt in the workplace
Hmm.
because it's not imaginative. It's easy to write down every mistake somebody makes, right?
Yeah.
And HR departments can't decipher that. So by the time you even get to the exit interview, it's just too late. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what corporate trauma, this experience and us talking about this is ultimately to put the human back in being a professional. Um,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Listen, that makes perfect sense to me, and I don't even know if I need to follow it up with anything or add any icing to it. You brought the cake perfectly
Yeah,
into the building, and I hope, like always, people take the time to understand who they are, learn who they are, ask the questions, and every time you get the opportunity to talk to a professional, sometimes you might realize that what they talking about is complete nonsense.
yeah,
But at
yeah,
least you have some frame of reference where it's like, okay, now I got an idea of how they actually were looking at me. Now I know why I'm being terminated. It wasn't just because the numbers, I just wasn't really a good fit for this particular organization.
right,
Being able to see that. And sometimes they think it's numbers, but it could really just be this wasn't the right spot for you. So,
right,
nah, that makes a lot of sense.
right. Yeah, and the exit interview can frame a lot of that. And I mentioned it a few minutes ago, man. Don't take it for granted your
Mhm.
ability to articulate your experience and say it out loud uh, to an agent or representative of the organization that you are departing from. That's a very powerful and empowering moment
Yeah.
in your tenure or career within the organization. And then for those of you who are entrepreneurs or who may be consulting and have people that are going to work for you or managing your own business, there's a lot of principles and elements that you can take from this as well when you are
Hmm.
dealing with your clientele, right? They may not necessarily work for you, but
Hmm.
a client decides to leave, right? Put your pride aside and ask why. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but man, solid. Another great episode.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Another great episode, man. Thank you, Dawn DuBose, for
Hmm.
coming to the Corporate Trauma podcast
Hmm.
series. As we get ready to finish up the year, Rob. We got a few
Hmm.
more great episodes lined up, and so everybody, make sure you tune in next week, same time, same
Hmm.
channel. We'll be back at it And remember, corporate trauma is a sneaky passive trauma that will creep up on you. And then when it does,
it is time to level up.
all right, good people. See y'all next week.
Let's go.